Hi, and welcome back to our multi-part series, QAnon from Day One. This is part 3. I'm your host, Craig. Welcome to Just Informed Talk. First, I want to thank every single person for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, there's this big red button right here on your screen when you come to my landing page. It says subscribe. You go ahead and click that. Then make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you can get this information as soon as it becomes available to me, because I make it available to you. And you will get it in your feed. Now, let's jump right into Q. Alright, so this is where we left off from part 2, the Q Clearance Patriot post. Now we're going to move into a bunch of very interesting things that I definitely think deserve a whole load of examination. And as I said, this is going to go through every Q post from the beginning. So we're just going to keep going. I hope that this picks up well right where you left off if you're coming to us from part 2. Now, it says, Q says here, POTUS will be insulated, protected on Air Force One and abroad, specific locations classified. While these operations are conducted, due to the nature of the entrenchment, it is time to take back our country and make America great again. Let us salute and pray for the brave men and women in uniform who will undertake this assignment to bring forth peace, unity, and return people to power. It is our hope that this message reaches enough people to make a meaningful impact. We cannot yet telegraph this message through normal methods for reasons I'm sure everybody here can understand. Follow the questions from the previous threads and remain calm. The primary targets are within D.C. and remain at the top on both sides. The spillover in the streets will be quickly shut down. Look for more false flags, stay alert, be vigilant, and above all, please pray. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Love is patient, love is kind. God bless my fellow Americans. 4/10/20. Well, this to me is like when we go back and we look at these Q posts. I mean, we know because we're looking back with the gift of hindsight to be able to say, oh, we have X amount of information now that verifies these things. So this is truly what we're getting into here, the proofs of Q. And if you guys will just follow, you'll see. Now this is the reference to 4/10/20. If you alphabetically look at the numeric values as compared to the letters, so if you start with A1, B2, C3, and so on, you'll find that 4 is D, 10 is J, and 20 is T. And that would equal the initials of our president, Donald J. Trump. And I think the reference here is that this is a direct message from Donald J. Trump to everybody here on the board. And he's telling us that we're hoping to reach enough people to make a meaningful impact, and that we can't telegraph this message through normal methods for reasons that everybody can understand. I mean, you can't just blatantly go out and say it because you have to build a case. And this is, as I've said before, this is like a parallel construction where we're constructing the facts outside of any secret courts so that they're in the public domain so that they can be used and they can't be suppressed in any court hearings. So this is a very important task that we're all, or that we all have been given by the President of the United States, and I think he's giving us words that are straight from his mouth. We all need to stay alert. We all need to be vigilant. We all need to pray. Those are important things. Now, this quote here, which is obviously John 3:16, is beautiful. God did love the world, and God did give his only Son or that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. And I could not be more thankful. And I say, I'm basically in complete agreement with this whole message here that God bless you all. And I think this message was directly from Donald J. Trump. But we'll move on. Military intelligence. This is the next Q post. Military intelligence. No media. No leaks. How many military intelligence generals have been in out of the White House in the past 30 days? Focus on Flynn. Background and potential role. What is the common denominator in terms of military backgrounds close to POTUS? Now, going into all this, now with the beauty of the gift that we've been given with the hindsight to look back now at these posts and then analyze them with the understanding of what happens from here forward. This is November 1st. We were dealing with a whole different set of circumstances. People were questioning Trump's choices for bringing General Kelly in, bringing McMaster and keeping McMaster on board. But it all speaks to this underlying theme that nobody wants to pick up on in the mainstream media, which is that there had been or had been planned and enacted from before that point and then to that point and through that point, a basic state of emergency where Donald Trump understood the only people he could trust are the military. The alphabet letter agencies had been infiltrated. They're not working for the president. There was leaks everywhere. The White House literally was leaking like a sieve. If you guys remember, they would leak phone calls between the president and foreign dignitaries and leaders. They leaked anything. They would throw anything at the wall to see if it would stick. And this is basically it's giving us the thought process behind bringing everyone in, and that I think that's invaluable. So this is really, really incredible. Next, it says, why did Soros transfer the bulk of his public funds to a nonprofit organization? Why is this relevant? Well, as we all know, George Soros did transfer $18 billion to his foundation, the Open Society Foundation. And this was around October 2017, and he was getting it out of his own hands because he knew what was coming down coming down the pike, if you will. He was going to be the one who was going to be targeted. So he knew if he got the money out of his own hands, it could not be seized. But he can retain control of that money in the nonprofit. So there's a three-dimensional chess game being played at all times here. And Trump is always 5 steps ahead, and these people are doing the best they can to scramble as he makes decisions based on what's best for our country. Now, it says, who owes a lot to very bad actors? How can she repay, and it's note here, she, repay as payment was made under promise of victory? So basically what this is saying is Hillary made a lot of promises. She sold, according to this, her candidacy to the highest bidder, and this is very important to look at in its entirety, in its full scope, because you're putting together the story that Hillary basically, she had the highest, I think the most money ever spent on a political campaign, and she lost. And all those billions of dollars that were funneled to her for the campaign, well, you don't think that those people donating were expecting something in return, and that when she lost that they are going to try to get that money back through other means and methods, or they double down on their loss and start funneling the money into the mainstream media in order to change the narrative or create this whole Russian collusion hoax canard, as it were. It's really something to be looked at further. We have to keep studying this stuff, but now Q goes into a whole nother direction, where he says, what cash payments occurred by Barack Obama during the last 90 days of his presidency to foreign states and organizations? I have a feeling that's referring to the Iran deal. Other states probably were paid. There were slush funds that were created in Southeast Asia, we know. It says, what slush fund did Attorney General Sessions to the Department of Justice put an end to? Now that one I'm going to look to you guys in the comments to help me out with. I couldn't find exactly what that's referring to, but I'm sure it was something that was shut down in the early days of the Sessions crackdown. And you guys will just have to point that out to me. So thank you in advance. It says, how does Soros, Obama, Clinton, Holder, Lynch, etc., all net millions of dollars, normally within a single tax year? That's a great question. How are these, we understand how Soros does it. And maybe we even understand that Obama and Clinton, yes, they have notoriety and they have some fame. They can get some book deals. But then like Holder and Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, and Maxine Waters, and Nancy Pelosi, and you go down the list. If you go down the list, you'll see, how do they net millions of dollars within one tax year? Something's very suspicious, because these are supposed to be public servants. I mean, and usually the general perception of a public servant is somebody who has decided to do an altruistic motivation. They've gotten an altruistic motivation to serve the people, serve their constituency, and to forego the money they can make in the private sector. And because the government doesn't pay that well. Trust me, I know. And it's very interesting to me, if you look at these and examine them, to say, what does Q point to? Because as I've said before, these Q posts are not cryptic. These are not riddles. These are not written in a way that we have to do the research. I mean, he's giving us the bare bones fact in plain English, and as plain as you could put together. So this deserves definitely more investigation. I know a lot of people have done many articles, and there's probably thousands of articles you can pull up on all this. So it's pointing to a larger problem that I think Q's trying to expose, and we'll continue. It says, what was negotiated on the tarmac between Bill Clinton and Lynch, Loretta Lynch? Remember, it was expected that Hillary Rodham Clinton was going to win during this time period. And I think that's a great question. I mean, you see here, I'm pulling up a picture for you of Loretta Lynch boarding the Clinton plane on a Phoenix tarmac. And Q's going to allude to the fact that the information, they were able to get everything. All right, they had the taps. They had. You got to understand the way metadata works, the way this whole network of information and how it's held, is that everything you do and anything you do electronically can be monitored, and it has been cataloged in data and put into a database. And that's what metadata is that everything you've ever done since whatever X starting date has been put into a big server and can be searched like a Google engine search by higher ranking, higher clearance individuals in strategically placed positions within in many different intelligence agencies, the main one being the NSA. But let's just go into what Q says here, because this is a great, straightforward breakdown of what happened. Okay, it says, what if the wizards and warlocks, who are the good guys working in the NSA on the computers, these guys who are just they're probably the smartest people in the room, in any room they walk into, because they have the computer programming skills and the ability to make these complex programs, and they work together to create this. It's almost like a dragnet for information across our entire country and the world, that's cataloged and put into a metadatabase that can be searched at any time. Now, I'm gonna stop commenting. I'm just gonna read through this because Q says it way better than I could ever put it. So he says, what if the wizards and warlocks tipped off a local reporter as to the supposed unscheduled stop, as in the stop on the tarmac? What if the NSA, under the personal direction from Admiral Rogers, had this meeting miscategorized and logged under a false identity to prevent bad actors from locating, while also verifying to said players all was clear, _no logs were made? This explains it all. Okay, so the NSA, Admiral Rogers, who's a true patriot in my opinion, he knew these people were bad actors, and he literally miscategorized and logged the metadata that was collected from that instant, whether it was Bill Clinton with a cell phone in his pocket or Loretta Lynch with her cell phone, because the mic's always hot. It's always picking up. Everybody thinks this Alexa thing. Oh, it's so revolutionary. She can hear when you say her name and then she answers you. Well, just imagine what that technology could do if it was just on all the time, and it was doing the speech to text transcription, and then putting that into a file, and then putting that into a server in a database that could be searched, as I've said before, like a Google search for the NSA at any time they want. Okay? That's what Admiral Rogers did, and that's what the genius was to what he did. And this is what explains why he went and saw Trump and explained everything to him. These people are... I'm not going to say that everyone in government, or even a large majority, or even a small minority, well, maybe a small minority, but they are Luciferian, okay? There are people who are Satanists, okay? And I don't know if that's resonating with some people. I can't directly prove that anyone is, other than to say that maybe the Podestas attended spirit cooking meetings with Marina Ambrovich, and they did all types of weird rituals. But just think about this, okay? There's a lot of information out there, and I want you all to go look it up for yourself about the connection between this Luciferianism and the elite. And you guys go do that research, and you'll figure it out for yourself. But it's almost hiding in plain sight, if you will. And we're here to expose it. So, now, we'll keep going. It says, what really happened when the wizards and warlocks revealed what they had? Was Comey forced into the spotlight shortly thereafter, not by choice? Right before the election, no doubt, which would cast suspicion. So what happened? I know I'm taking my time here, but I need to break this down for you because it's very important to understand what happened and this is not for everybody who's already in the know. A lot of you already know this information, but this is for people who are new to this information, who are picking up on this series and this multi-part series and saying, I don't know anything about Q, so this is for them. It says, so let's look at this for what it is. Comey, when he came out the second time and said there's no reason to... he basically went on this whole tangent about how anybody who is this careless and reckless should be reprimanded, but there's no indictable offenses and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, you guys can go look up that Comey stuff for yourself because it's pretty generally available with a simple Google search. But it's implying here that he was forced to do that. Maybe by Admiral Rogers, maybe because he was presented with proof that there are people who are working nefariously against basically we the people, the American people. These posts are really crazy, and I'm just trying to get them out as quick as I can here, but a lot has to be explained, even though it's set in such plain terms. It says, these are crumbs, and you cannot imagine the full and complete picture. If Trump failed, if we failed, and HRC assumed control, we as patriots were prepared to do the unthinkable. This was leaked internally and kept the delegate recount scam and Barack Obama from declaring fraud. Another bombshell? It literally blows one's mind to think that there were people behind the scenes who knew about these people and their behind the scenes personas and actions, and how they allegedly maybe sold our country out, okay? And then they said that they were ready to do the unthinkable. I don't even want to think about what the unthinkable is. I can't imagine what the military would do that would be unthinkable to a democratically elected leader who they knew through intelligence leaks and intelligence gathering of the top secret clearance classification, what they would imagine to do to mitigate that evil from taking over. and that was the basic premise behind keeping Hillary from demanding a recount and from Barack Obama coming out and declaring the election fraudulent. Okay, this gets crazier and crazier. We're going through this together, though. It says, dig deeper, missing critical points to paint the full picture. There is simply no other way than to use the military. It's that corrupt and dirty. Please be safe and pray for those in harm's way as they continually protect and serve our great country. So, of course, yes, we need to pray. We need to work hard. We need to work together and trust in the Lord. But we need to continue to dig deeper. And this is just one step in that process. I encourage all of you to do your own digging because that's how we're going to continue to expose this. And don't forget to share this video. That's very important. Share it with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you really care about, whoever you want to wake up. Let them know that this is happening, and this is the information that we're being given from a Q level intelligence officer who happens to be affiliated with the Trump administration. Now, going to the next one, it says, they are the true patriots. We will never forget. Let these coming days be remembered in our history as the time we fought to recapture the Republic from those evil bad actors who for so long have sacrificed the good of this land for their own personal gain. Fight the good fight. Let justice be served. Well, I don't need to break that down for you. That's clear as day. And I concur wholeheartedly. Next, 4 carriers and escorts in the Pacific. Why is this relevant? To prevent other state actors from attempting to harm us during this transition? Russia, China, or conversely, all for North Korea? Or all 3? Think logically about the timing of everything happening. Note increased military movement. Note National Guard deployment starting tomorrow. Note false flags. Follow UMA. Prepare messages of reassurance based on what was dropped here to spread on different platforms. So, I mean, looking at this in the context of the time it was made, I mean, what Q is basically saying here, and he names it for what it is. This was the start of the calm before the storm. This is where all the genesis, the nexus, the beginning, the roots in the ground of that whole movement of pushing people, the Anons, the Redditors, the Autists, everybody, to come on board, take this information, spread it on different platforms, make it viral, but then also make it, as like I've said before, this parallel construction. So looking into what's next, here's an article from CNN, who I love to cover because they're such a wonderful news agency. It says North Korea, 3 U.S., and that was sarcasm. It says 3 U.S. aircraft carriers creating worst ever situation, and I underlined worst ever and put a question mark because I thought this is how I think the title should read as opposed to how it actually does read. And of course it was done by a person at CNN, but this is dated November 20th. It was an update to the article, but this is around that time we were sending aircraft carriers over, and quite a fascinating time to live in. Now, we're following UMA. We know about what's going on with her. There's been speculation that she is affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood. There's been speculation that she is in all types of different frauds, if you will, with her and HRC. And it's very sad that her husband is such a deplorable human. And deplorable, I take that as a term of endearment. So now I'm not going to say deplorable. He's a despicable human for what he's done. So this is another straightforward one. The National Guard deployments were happening around the time. Now we're going to get into what he's referring to when he says note false flags, but that'll be in the next one. So let's just keep going. It says, or not the next one, maybe. Anyway, it says, would it blow your mind if I told you Barack Obama has been to North Korea and perhaps there now? This is on November 2nd. Why did his administration do little to slow their nuclear and missile capabilities? Who feeds North Korea with strategic intel? Iran? What deal was done with Iran under Barack Obama? Why was the deal sealed under a top secret classification? Why wasn't Congress notified? Why, after Barack Obama left office, all of a sudden, North Korea has nukes and the tech to miniaturize for payload delivery within the U.S.? I'm going to keep going and we're going to break this down. What about NSA, CIA, Department of Intelligence, or I think it's Director of Intelligence, etc., all confirming tech won't be in place for 5+ years? Statements made in 2016. Why is all of this relevant, and what does it tell you? Big picture is rare. I think what he's telling us here is that the big picture is rare. It's rare for anybody to paint the picture for what it is. And we can see this is like some of the hashtag Iran deal things that were put out by the Obama administration, explaining what it would mean if we got a deal with Iran, how we would, it says highly enriched uranium we would block, and highly enriched uranium at these facilities would not be allowed, and weapons grade plutonium would be blocked, and covert attempts to produce fissile material would be blocked. And it goes on, and it has this next little graphic, and these are just the deceptions, in my opinion. These are the show, the dog and show pony, or whatever that phrase is. Excuse me, I've butchered that. I'm sure you guys will tell me in the comments what I butchered, but it is literally just a show. And it's giving you all these complex graphics that are so simple to read, and like everything's going to be this simple. That, we sign a deal with Iran, we give them $1.7 billion, and we'll never see a nuclear weapon ever from them. So that in and of itself is a part of the deception. But going back to what Q's talking about here, he's talking about why is the deal so secretive? Why wasn't Congress notified? Why, after Barack Obama leaves office and Trump steps in, like almost in the first days of Trump's presidency, you have Kim just shooting rockets everywhere from there forward. He just missile test, blowing nukes up. These people, it's being implied here that an administration before allowed this to happen. And that is scary, it's disturbing, and it needs investigation. So I'll leave that to you guys to make your own decisions about, because I don't like to get too much into making the judgment of what he means here, rather than to bring you the information and let you make your own decisions. That to me is more important than anything else. So we'll move forward. Now he says 41020 A B C D E. I think this is a clue he was given to people who didn't pick up on the 41020 at first. I think there was a lot of speculation about what 41020 meant, but here he just breaks it down. He says, "Look, it's ABCD. That's the cipher. It's a 1-to-1 cipher. A 1A, 2B, 3C, and that's how you get Donald J. Trump." Okay, so that's a pretty simple one. Next one. What a coincidence the mountain that housed North Korea's nuclear weapons and testing collapsed. Unbelievable timing. I wonder if critically important materials as well as scientists, aka the bomb makers, were inside when it happened. Shocking, no global news agency suspects we had nothing to do with it. That is referring to this here. So I think what this implication is basically is that we struck it, and that I think that the bloody nose was already given to North Korea, and that was it. That we went and we took out a bunch of their top scientists who were working in a bunker that they thought was untouchable by any conventional weapon, and we collapsed that very quickly, or we sabotaged whatever they were working on to take them out in a definitely targeted hit of these bad actors in North Korea. And here it is. I mean, this is an article we're reading right here that was made by Tom Michael, and it's called Kim's Disaster. North Korea nuclear tunnel collapses, killing at least 200 people amid fears of a massive radioactive leak. So, this is a part of the strategy, I think. Nothing's being expressed publicly because there is a need for secrecy. There's a need for plausible deniability, if you will, that we didn't have anything to do with this. But I'll tell you right now, if we did, I personally, opinion-wise, think it's the proper response to a wild actor who has been acting aggressive and crazy, and it was a measured response, which I think Trump's kind of starting to become known for, his measured response. He's not the type of person who, if something happens, he doesn't just flip out. He has a very measured response, calculated, if you will. Next one. We serve at the pleasure of the president, DJT, Donald J. Trump. I think that's a response to, people may have been questioning it. But I think one thing to pick up right here is we. So this is back in November 2nd. And what have we come out with lately? And the latest, analysis suggests that Q is not one person. QAnon is not one entity. It's not one person's thoughts. It's a collective. It is a collective of, I've heard guesstimations between 5 and 10 people who are who have access to that intelligence dropping capabilities. But I think it's very poignant to say that here we're saying that they're actually saying it's we. It's not I. It's not me, or just singular. So take that for whatever it's worth to you. It says, these crumbs are not meant to scare anyone, but merely inform. Resistance will be dealt with swiftly. The core focus is removing entrenched and fortified bad actors within our federal government, past and present, as well as others. Simply be diligent. Phone numbers will be provided if you witness an uprising or other domestic violence, in addition to 911. Any military scene is for your protection as well as to demonstrate our resolve. Watch for confirmations tomorrow. Well, this is November 2nd, and a lot happened around that time that we'll get into. And we're going to get into it here in a second. The next one says, before POTUS departs on Friday, he will be sending an important message via Twitter. God bless. Now, let me ask you something. Do you believe in coincidences? All right, so let's keep going. This is an article out of the Washington Post from November 2nd at 11:06 p.m. It says, well before, and let me just point out to you that this article or this post here about Trump delivering a message via Twitter was posted at 1 o'clock in the afternoon of November 2nd. Okay? So, or I'm sorry, 1 a.m. of November 2nd. Excuse me. And so, what would that be? That would be like 12 hours, 10 hours before this article was dropped. It says, Twitter employee on last day of job deactivated Trump's account, company says. Now, this is referring to the time when Trump's Twitter account was actually deactivated for around, I want to say, 11 minutes. And they want to say it was an employee leaving, and they want to say it was a disgruntled employee, and da-da-da. But do you always believe the official story? Do you believe in coincidences? I'll leave that to you. Those are simple questions. Now, moving forward. It says, follow UMA. What just broke with UMA? What did HRC instruct UMA to do? Reclassified markings. Why is this story just now coming out? What relevance does it have? Why is Donna running for cover? And we'll start with this here. What was Uma told to do? Well, here's a bombshell. It says, and this is from Town Hall. It's a report by Guy Benson, somebody who I think's a pretty fair-minded and equally harsh critic of both sides, and he's a Fox contributor. I actually kind of tended to like his reporting. But he reports here on townhall.com, bombshell, and this is from January 8th, 2016. In email, Hillary ordered aide to strip classified marking and send sensitive material. So there it is. I mean, the headlines match what Q is posting. The proofs of Q, as I've said before. These are the proofs. Now, the relevance to this is that, I mean, you put the relevance together for yourself. Huma, working for HRC, was instructed to take classified markings off emails and send them to a private server. Well, for what purpose? I mean, let's just break this down to the bare bones of it. For what purpose would the Secretary of State order one of her aides to take classified markings off of an email and then send it to a private server that's I don't know, was in a coffee shop in like somewhere in Missouri or Kansas? I don't know. I mean, why? The relevance is that the suggestion and implication since the beginning of all this is that information was being sold to foreign actors. That's where I'll leave that. Now, why is Donna running for cover? Was a deal granted in exchange for something? Who made the deal? Do we care about Donna or those who instructed her to violate the law? Why is this being leaked versus simply prosecuted privately? Who is attempting to change the narrative and soften the acts that are forthcoming this weekend? Those are all good questions. Here you see an article that was from CNN, of course, where they're actually talking about Donna Brazile and her new book. And for anybody who saw her on Tucker and knew what the book was implying, there was a lot more to that. But it's funny, this article is dated November 2nd, 2017, the exact same day the Q post is put out. And what did this all lead to? It led to the fact that, first of all, we know Donna Brazile was given the debate questions by CNN. Okay, that nobody's denied that. She's come out and apologized. That's just the facts. But there was a lot of questions raised by this book that Brazile put out, and the implication and the question here by Q is why is Donna running for cover? Well, she's trying to cover her own butt. Was a deal made and a deal granted in exchange for something? So maybe she's come out and said the truth because she was given immunity from the basic violation of the law that she committed when she covered up facts as the head of the DNC and covered up the way that Bernie Sanders had the nomination basically guaranteed for Hillary. I don't want to say stolen from Bernie because who knows if Bernie would have won or not. Let's just say that it was made so that there was only one candidate who was going to be coming out of the Democratic National Convention, and that was Hillary. And, who's attempting to change the narrative and soften the acts that are forthcoming this weekend? Well, that's kind of yet to be seen. It was probably the mainstream media. I mean, you guys can help me out in the comments. Some of these things I can't go through each and every little tidbit detail, but if they were going to change the narrative and soften the acts, we'll get into that in the next video too, because it's talking about a forward event that we haven't gotten to yet. Now, it says, why is the information regarding Barack Obama important regarding Uranium One and export approval to Canada and to the EU? Where is Barack Obama today? Well, according to I want to say this was an article written somewhere online, but it basically points to the fact that Obama was at a concert event for the Obama Foundation summit. with Chance the Rapper and this band called The National. But Q says earlier in the post, I think we'll just look at that really quick. It says, would it blow your mind if I told you Barack Obama has been to North Korea and perhaps there now? So the question is, where was Barack Obama today? Same day as the post. Moving forward, it says, did Barack Obama or his administration ever make false statements that uranium-1 would never be exported to the United States? Who made those statements? Who did they report to? Why is this relevant? Yeah. They made these statements, and you guys can look that up for yourself. Of course they said it would never be exported from the United States. Of course it's relevant. It is pointing to the fact that it was a deceptive tactic enacted. I mean, it was allegedly a deceptive tactic, and we need to investigate it further. But this whole, as I keep reiterating through these videos, this is all written in plain English. There's no cryptic nature to these posts. There's no riddles. There's no questions, ambiguous questions. This is literally telling us what to look at. And I'll depend on you guys in the comment board to kind of keep us apprised to what all these multiple different sets of information have to do with our country and each other and saving our union in general. So we'll just keep moving forward. It says, the public has been given a select taste, i.e. sampling. Rest assured others have it all. 100% verifiable and impossible to refute. Why is this relevant? Who controls the narrative? Why are left-wing organizations beginning to report on DNC Democratic corruption? Does the CIA have operators inside the mainstream media? Yes. What happens if exposed? What happens if tied back to as knowing to execs? Well, I think that could talk maybe about a certain Jeffrey Zucker who had to resign from CNN. It says, what does this have to do with leaking? What if it can be verified with no sourced stories made up were in fact and approved to be published? The wormhole goes deep, and I think what he meant to say here was the rabbit hole goes deep, because that's what the analogy we're used to these days. But it could be just the wormhole of the mainstream media, the nature with which these leaks were coming out. I mean, you all remember that leaks were just flying out of the White House from day one, almost. And what if those leaks were tied to people who knew as executives? What if they, such as Eric Schmidt at Google, Jeffrey Zuckerberg at CNN, others who had to step down and resign afterwards, possibly at Jack? It says, what does this have to do with leaking? Well, how was the information being leaked is the real question. How is it being obtained is another very valid question. And a lot of it's not going to be something you can just go Google and find, but this is something that needs to be looked at. So I encourage every single one of my listeners here and viewers to go ahead and leave a comment, do your own research, and help us all source this information and get it cataloged, and we'll continue to create our own sequence of events that we can reliably depend on for an accurate description of what has happened here. Now, I'm going to just keep moving on because there's a lot to cover. So it says, you can paint the picture based solely on the questions asked. Be vigilant today and expect a major false flag. Does anyone find it to be a coincidence there is always a terrorist attack when the bad news breaks for the Democrats? What is that called? False flag? I don't know. Military relevant. How? Barack Obama could not and would not allow the military to destroy ISIS. Why? How was ISIS formed? When? How has POTUS made such progress in the short time he's been president? Alice in Wonderland. So, this to me, as I've said a million times, you guys are probably getting sick of me saying it, but this is plain. This is English. This is giving you exactly what's happening. The attack that they're referring to is the attack that happened, I think, just um, the day before everything happened, and that was the guy who, and thought I had the article, but I don't. But you guys can look this up. It's right on the same day. There's an article. There's many articles out. I think it happened the day before, where the guy in New York got into a Home Depot truck and drove and took so many vibrant lives away from us through an act of terror, which is despicable and deplorable, and the lowest form of existence, if you ask me, is to use your life to take the lives of others, innocent people, I should say. So that to me is what this is all referring to, and these questions, Barack Obama would not allow the military to destroy ISIS. Well, of course he couldn't. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. It's because that's a part of their destabilization platform, which enabled them to move fighters from Iraq into Syria. I mean, they basically, by allowing ISIS to form, they were. This is all speculation, obviously, but it was a tactic in order to have a destabilizing force in Syria, so that they could split Syria into 3 separate countries, as they've wanted to for a very long time, in order to get a stronger stranglehold of that region. How was ISIS formed? Well, quite simply put, Barack Obama ordered the withdrawal of troops, and they left a lot of military equipment that helped solidify and strengthen the fledgling terrorist organization known as ISIS, then known as ISIL, then known as IS, then known as Daesh. Okay, so and when, I mean, you can go back and source the dates and the information for when everything happened. I don't need to do that for you. It says, how has POTUS made such progress in the short time he's been president? Because he chose to actually fight ISIS? I mean, like, that's what it's getting at there, is that he basically came in and said, well, why aren't we destroying ISIS? And they said, well, that wasn't a part of the strategy. And he's like, well, it's not part of the strategy now. So these are all simply answered questions, especially given the benefit of hindsight, which we have now. Going into the last post, this is the last one I'm going to do for this video, just to keep these videos like within a reasonable bound of time here. It says, what is Q clearance? What hint does that explicitly refer to? Department of Energy? Who would have the goods on uranium-1? For the Department of Energy. Does stating Q refer that person works in Department of Energy? No. So obviously it's saying that the Q collective is not based out of the Department of Energy. It's based out of a higher or a different source of information. It says, does it refer that someone dropping such information has the highest level security clearance within all departments? Yes. Why is this relevant? Well, you guys can be the judge of that. I don't want to tell you why it's relevant, because I'm going to leave that for you guys to tell me in the comments. May 2010, Barack Obama. Russia should be viewed as a friendly partner under Section 123 of the Atomic Energy Act of 1954, quote unquote, agreeing to a new nuclear weapons reduction deal and helping U.S. with Iran. Who is the enemy now? Well, it's Russia. But I mean, they were great back then in 2010. Now they're the enemy. Now when people who could benefit from a positive relationship with Russia are not in power, now they're the enemy. It says, what is being continually stated by all Democrats? That Russia is the enemy. And this, I'm talking in the time frame of this November 2nd drop here. And it says, Russia is what? Well, they're the enemy. They're the worst thing since, I don't know, Hitler. It says, what did Russia reset really provide? Clearance pathway to complete the uranium-1 deal? Why is the Canadian Prime Minister so important? Well, Justin Trudeau, this guy, he's so important, I think, because he is the one who is funneling these deals. He is, in my opinion, he is the snake in the grass of everyone. And I'm not even Canadian. I don't want to comment on Canadian politics, but he just seems to me like the most untrustworthy individual in any room that he walks into. So just take that with a grain of salt. It says they never thought they were going to lose. The calm before the storm. Another reference to the CBTS hardworking folks out there. And this was the calm before the storm. We were just, this was the infancy. We were dropping all this information to let people know what was going on. And just quickly, you can see here, this is from 2010. It says how the Obama team convinced Russia not to sell arms to Iran. So this was all back in 2010, and it was this strategic move to supposedly fight Iran while creating backdoor deals that would benefit them in their own pockets, lining their own pockets, I should say. But that is it for today's little Q lesson, QAnon from day one, multi-part series. This was part 3. I just want to thank everybody for watching. Again, if you're still here with us, go ahead and click the red subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. That's how you continue to make this channel viable and keep it alive and going. And if you want to support us another way, a great way to do that is to come down and comment in the video. Let me know what you think. Give me your intake, or give me your input. Give me your insight. I want to know what you think, each and every one of you. Thank you again to everyone who has subscribed so far. You guys are really the salt of the earth, and you're what make this whole channel possible. And for anybody else who's interested in helping further, come to patreon.com, patreon.com, search Just Informed Talk. And I want to thank all my patrons I have so far. And you can give anything. All you have to do is click the red button here to become a patron, and you can donate whatever you can. I'll take literally anything helps if you just want to support this channel and keep this message hitting hard and moving forward. I need all your help. Come check out the rewards. Come check out the goal. You guys will be very delighted to see all this here. And please become a patron and donate. That would be very, very helpful to the channel. And I want to thank everyone in advance and thank anybody who's already donated. But going back to the last thing I always like to cover in all of my episodes is that God is here for you. Believe it or not, if you open your heart to the Lord and you make yourself His servant, you will be blessed and you will be rewarded. And it may not seem like it, and you may be in a dark place where maybe you've turned your back on the Lord for a small period, and or you're having doubts about the Lord, or you're having doubts about everyone else, and those doubts are what make you doubt your ability to reach out to the Lord and bring Him back into your life. But I'm here to tell you right here, right now, God loves you. If you open your heart to the Lord, He will come in and He will bless you. And all you have to do is say a prayer. All you have to do is open your heart. All you have to do is give God the glory. Because if you don't give God the glory, then you will never be privy to all the many blessings and fortune and just the power and the pure love that God is. You'll miss out on all that. And I like to stress this, though. You'll miss out on all the blessings. There's so many blessings to be had. And God is here for you. So I'm going to leave it right there. I want to say thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you like these series. Please, these shows, please tell me what you think in the comments. Again, hit the red subscribe button if you haven't yet. I'm Craig. This is Just Informed Talk. Godspeed and God bless.